Welcome all to SportsBiz Unwrapped podcast. We thank you for the first episode, which you guys subscribed, you liked. Continue doing that. And today it's a special episode. We are joined with one of Kenya's renowned sports commercialization champions, Richard Ekhalie, alias Daddy Thanks, who happens also to be my dad and my mentor. And he's taken dozens of sports business assignments across the country, and the owner of SportsBiz Ltd. So without further ado, we shall get into the interview. So how did you get into the business of the sports world?
Okay, thank you very much for welcoming me this to the inaugural edition of the SportsBiz podcast. I'm delighted to be here because I think it is the right direction for this podcast to take. And you asked me how I got here. I tell you, for starters, it was by design back in the year 2006 when common friends of mine approached me and asked me to join them to see if we could revive one of the biggest clubs in Kenya, Africa, and actually in the world, called is AFC Leopards. It had been relegated from the top league in 2006, so it was actually dabbling in the nationwide, which is the second tier team. And they approached me because the team was struggling, and they brought me in specifically to help them raise some finances, to help the team actually be able to gain top flight status. So I did not hesitate because having come from the entertainment marketing background, I hit the ground running as I was able to bring on board 2 or 3 other people. We came up with the Friends of Leopards that was acting as a board, that we were able to put up some finances that actually saw the team go through the second half of nationwide championship in the country, and we managed to emerge the winners of the league and gain promotion back to top flight. So 2009 we bounced back to top flight, and by grace of God, the Friends of Leopards decided to bestow me the responsibility of being the CEO, the first CEO of the club in 2009, and was charged with actually mobilizing resources, marketing the team, and actually coming up with a new brand of AFC Leopards that is up to now being exercised. So I actually was the CEO 2009, and I doubled in for 4 years, and we started with one of the Zions of AFC Leopards, the late Alex Magelo, who provided a lot of good networks and financial support to the team.
Okay, that's some great insight from Mr. Richard here concerning how he started the business of sports. It's very insightful, as you've heard. So I would like to ask you another question, which is concerning this whole podcast and basically what you're on about. What is sports business?
Okay, sports business, unlike the old times where people used to play sports for leisure, sports business actually is the art of making profit from sports and making sports sustainable. Because we have come from a long way where sports used to be viewed as a charity event where people play for nothing. But sports business is a way of professionalizing the sport so that there's profitability in it and sustainability. So the key aspects of sports business is profitability and sustainability, so that it's seen as a professional entity that can earn revenue and be sustainable to the players of the sport.
That's very insightful concerning the business of sports, because as you've said it rightly, it's not just about leisure anymore.
Yeah.
It's more about how one can make profit, or an organization can make profit, and marketability.
Yeah. And actually, to take it forward, there are very many aspects. Probably one will ask how. There are very many aspects of doing that. We look at more than 10 aspects or elements that constitute to sports business. We'd also look at merchandise, sale of merchandise, which has become very big because very many big brands want to put their logo on jerseys, on other elements of and other items that promote sports. So merchandising is one other key aspect of sports commercialization. We also have media and TV rights. This actually is one of the biggest elements of commercialization, where major networks, TV networks, enter into long-term partnerships with athletes or leagues or teams, where they agree on broadcasting the sports across their countries, across the continent, and globally. And these TV rights or commercial rights generate a lot of revenues that help run the clubs. Another aspect or element of commercialization in sports is infrastructure. You realize that when teams are well capitalized, they come up with good infrastructure, like modern stadium, and you find when you have a good stadium, it's very easy to generate naming rights from corporates who will come and want to be associated with that stadium. There are very many good examples that are bound, like especially in the developed countries. You'll find Emirates Stadium is one of the biggest, and the Emirates Airlines were very easy to be convinced to name that stadium their Emirates name. And they have been able to sell their brand nationwide and countrywide and also worldwide.
Yeah.
So infrastructure development is a key element of sports commercialization because it's one of the key elements where revenue is generated. There are many other ways, many other elements of commercialization in sports. We also look at the governance side of it, and you realize that for you to get commercialization right, you must have the right structure of governance. Unfortunately, in Kenya and Africa and many other African countries, we are slow to implement or to put up enough governance structure to enable commercialization. And that's why maybe in Kenya or Africa, people are still struggling, but we are moving slowly but sure. So that will require a corporate structure put in place whereby even the federations that are running these entities in Africa and other developing countries can allow a commercial entity derived from a sporting company, a sporting organization. In Kenya, you realize that we have a lot of entities that are operating as societies. Unfortunately, many corporate entities might not favor that kind of structure. So it's important that many governments in Africa and other developing countries embrace the corporate structure of governance so that it can be able to attract corporate investment, especially from the private sector.
That's very deep and it's gone in depth. I hope the audiences can now have a better understanding of sports business. There's so much to it, and we are glad to take you through it and more. So another question that I want to ask you is, what would you say are the key areas of sports business?
The key areas, actually, I have mentioned about them, but probably I'll start with fan engagement and digitalization. This is heavy because you realize that the world has turned into a digital market. that is where the world is heading. We are now almost in the AI era. So fans need to be engaged from every part of the world with globalization, with TV streaming every event in the world, live. Fan engagement has become very big as a key element of being able to connect the fans of sports to their teams and to their sponsors and to the markets. And digitalization is whereby you realize that social media has taken over, and you realize that a sport that is live watched by 30,000 people can be live streamed on the spot live to hundreds of millions of viewers worldwide. So that's a very big space for brands to actually showcase their products using the social platforms and the entire digitalization platform. Fan engagement around playing grounds has also become big as a key element, whereby you need to engage fans even off the pitch. I think it was yesterday when you saw the UEFA Women's Championship. We had a lot of excitement all over the world. The UK, the game was played in Switzerland, but the entire world, including Kenya, the US, people were jubilant. People were watching. They were watching tents all over, and there was excitement. A lot of products were being sold, merchandise, and a lot of information was being shared online. So fan engagement and digitalization is a key element of the sports business. As I had also talked of sponsorships. Sponsorships are also key, very key elements of sports business, because you realize that sponsors, when they come in, they put in massive money, and this money is actually what thrives the sports, because with good budgets, you are able to hire best quality players. And once you get best quality players, they're likely to perform well. When they perform well, they attract a bigger fan base. When they attract a bigger fan base, the fan base now consume the products of the team, including merchandise. So those are things that actually relate. So sponsorship is very key. Another key element of sports business would be ticketing. Actually, many clubs make a lot of money from ticketing. We have premium tickets, we have ordinary tickets, and you find stadia like the Barcelona stadium. They have about 60,000 seater space, and when you sell all those tickets, some of them are very expensive. You realize that that is a key source of revenue for clubs, selling tickets. And we also have very many other elements or key elements of sports business, including even developing academies for various teams, because you realize that big teams actually have very serious academies, which actually tap into the grassroots sport. So they bring up young talent from the age of 7. And apart from them joining their senior team, these youthful players are able to be traded or sold to other clubs at a premium. So that also helps generate a lot of revenue for clubs. So that's another key element of sports business.
Okay. So how important is event management in the business of sports?
Event management is actually key, because you realize that nowadays money in sports is not only generated in the pitch. A lot of money is being generated off the pitch. So event management becomes very key, whereby you find during a key game, be it basketball, be it football, be it netball, volleyball, even athletes, you would realize that there's usually a village, a sporting village around that stadium, whereby a lot of things happen that generate revenue to the club. One of it that is key is hospitality, whereby various entities are licensed to provide food and drinks, and that keeps the funds around the event where the sport is happening long before even the sport begins. So that is one key element of event management. And you realize many key players in the market hire or enter into long-term contracts with professionals in hospitality industry to do that. And that has proven to be a key source of revenue. It ties down with tourism, because you realize, like in Kenya, when we normally have safari rally, you realize that the entire of that weekend is like a tourism kind of promotion aspect, whereby you find people travel to Naivasha for 2-3 days, and in do so, we normally get a lot of revenue exchange grants. People sell accommodation, people sell food, transport. So tourism also becomes a very big beneficiary of an organized event, managed event around a major sport like motoring. So there are very many ways that event management can actually be done well to provide extra revenue for a sport, and that is what we call sports business. It's no longer just going to watch that particular game. We look at very many other ways of looking at it. We will also be talking about sports data collection and analytics, which also is a key aspect of sports business. Collecting data is very important, and it will help you in conditioning players, whereby you realize that a player that is well maintained, conditioned, can have longevity during his sport, so that you find you reduce the number of injuries during playing time. We also have a key aspect of sports business, which is scouting. You realize that serious sports entities have a department that actually specializes in scouting young talent. It can be from grassroots or from academies. These people are well documented and signed long-term. When you have a long-term contract with a 14-year-old of, let's say, 10 years, once that talent is developed well, is likely to actually benefit your team at a very young age, or you are able to sell that talent to another top team for very good money to run the team. So actually that's a very key aspect of it. And we will be discussing later, probably in the show, what we call naming rights. You realize that many teams might not own stadium by themselves, so they might enter into a partnership with an existing facility, and then they broker a deal with a corporate company to name that stadium or facility, and money is exchanged in that process. So that also helps into bringing in revenue to the clubs. We are also looking at what we call bringing in investors into the business of sports. We realize that there are very many companies that will benefit association with sporting events, and they will easily buy rights into ownership of that entity. Very good example is companies in Germany. You'll find most of them associate with big clubs, soccer clubs in Germany, like Audi, like Adidas. They have a percentage into those clubs in exchange of them promoting their brands, either on their shirts, in the stadium. We also have hospitality boxes that are sold during their matches in the stadium, branded. So there are very many ways these corporate clients also come into and claim stake in major leagues or major teams for mutual benefit between them.
Okay, that's very insightful. So, on the world stage, what would you cite as real life examples of sports commercialization properties?
Okay, on the world stage, as I said earlier, the developed world is quite ahead because they embraced commercialization of sports long time ago. In Africa, we are still catching up. In Kenya, we are still catching up, but we are growing very fast. So probably some of the biggest properties that have benefited from commercializations are most of these properties are in the US and Europe. You realize properties like the NBA is one of the well capitalized event or sport. Is actually a phenomenon in the US where you find key brands have sought association with them and they cough in billions of dollars every year. So that's the NBA. Then also we have Formula One, which actually is one of the heavily invested into property. You find Liberty Media came in and bought rights and they have taken it to the next level in terms of branding, marketing, endorsements, and it's raking in one of the highest amounts of money from their competition that are well branded and well sold. The TV and the entire media rights, Formula One, are compared to none. They're actually very premium for you even to place a 10 minutes ad in that sport. Another property will be what we call in America the college football, our college athletes, whereby they have come up with the sponsorship deals with very many companies. And right now, college players in the US are paid according to the name, image, and everything that brings a player to succeed in the sports. So the American college football is actually doing very well in terms of branding and in terms of endorsements. In Europe, we also have the English Premier League that is well capitalized, it's doing very well. A lot of broadcasting media rights have been stuck, and a lot of revenue is actually changing hands. For a team to play in the English Premier League, actually it's a one gateway to riches because even if you finish number 10 on the log, you still benefit from a very good premium from it. Another example is FIFA World Cup. We know very well that it is, apart from the bragging rights, they also pay very well if you participate in the FIFA World Cup, which is for nations. So those are some of the properties that are doing very well. In Africa, we have the Premier League of South Africa, also doing very well. In Egypt also, the league in Egypt is also doing very well marketed. So Africa is actually catching up, although we are way behind our developed partners in making use of properties for sports.
So we've come to the end of episode 1 of SportsBiz Unwrapped podcast, and we thank you for joining us, and we hope to have you on another episode. We've had, I personally as a sports journalist have learned so much. I know the audiences have learned a lot too into matters sports business. So audience, again, make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Help us get 100 subscribers. So far we are on about 52 there. And also for those who listen on podcasts, audio, the Spotify podcasts, Apple podcasts, and all other podcast platforms, SportsBiz Unwrapped podcast. So see you guys on another video.